points a game. It's the first at 21 in game 3. A free throw away from Boston's.
This is a late 40s GE Model 250 battery powered tube radio, and I did a video on this before where I brought it back to life. You can check that out. And just as a refresher, this runs on 2 volts. Originally it had a 2 volt 25 amp hour single cell lead acid battery, and I've been running it on these 2 nickel metal hydride 11 amp batteries. And it uses about 2 amps, so you get about 4 or 5 hours out of it. It has a vibrator right there, you could hear it buzzing. Well, yesterday I came across this, and this is a Model 260. Multi-band, and it's rather abused. It's got a few missing and broken buttons, but what I'd figure I would do is fire it up and see kind of how it did just without even opening it up. This one I had to rebuild the vibrator, and there's also a bias cell on the audio output tube which keeps the grid negative. It will work if the bias cell is dead. It's just becomes a real power hog. Also, the antenna for these is in the case. You can see the leads right there. So let's fire it up and see what it does. Okay, here we go. The battery's connected. I have a feeling the vibrator's not going to start, but we'll find out right now. Okay, well, I can switch the vibrators around. That's easy enough. Okay, here we go with the vibrator out of the other radio, and the battery pack was getting hot, so I have a feeling something shorted in the primary. Yeah, something's not right. Let me take the vibrator that was in this one and put it in the working one and see if it works. Okay, this is the working vibrator. You can see that I opened it, and there's a set of contacts in there you can clean. And this is the non-working vibrator, but there's more. This one probably just needs to be opened and serviced, but there's more than okay, this is the working vibrator, and you can see that I opened this one and serviced the contacts in it. This is the one out of the 260 that has not been opened, and it's fairly easy to unsolder these things and clean the contacts in there. The actual feedback contact that makes it switch itself on and off and vibrate. The transformer contacts don't really go bad. It's the feedback contact. So there's something else wrong with the 262. Something shorted because the battery pack is getting hot. I managed to get the GE 260 radio working, at least on broadcast.
The information you can use.
Gonna ban salt from restaurants? Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. Oh, you're right. We got to get the illegal guns. Daily News, whole big campaign about the illegal guns in New York. The illegal guns in New York.
And I'm running it off two 11 amp.
Cable and shoot people on their own. But the legal guns that the cops have, those are all.
Or those nickel metal hydride. The problem was this.
On the Mike Gallagher Show, 20 before the hour. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
This capacitor right here was shorted.
Comment about being in New York or living in the people of New York. I wanted to let you know that what you're saying is all true.
And the vibrator needed the contacts cleaned. I've got it down how to fix these vibrators now. I can do that pretty quick with a torch and some fine sandpaper. Anyway, it's pretty interesting. It's got these coils here, and it's got a set of adjustments on the bottom, like pointing straight down, and there's a cover on the bottom, a removable cover on the side. But there's one kind of disappointing problem I've run into. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to address it. This little cover right there goes over this thing right here, which is an external antenna for all of those bands right there, and of course I do not have that antenna, and I have no idea where I would get it. Yeah, I could probably make one if I had the specs. Here's the external loop on the schematic. And also, if I look at Antique Radio Forum, I found some pictures of this, and it looks like, here's the radio, and it looks like this right here is the external loop for the shortwave. So I don't believe the thing will work without this. I was kind of following the schematic, how it goes up through to all these different switches here for the different bands, and then of course the AM, which is standard, has the internal loop, which right now it's the way the schematic is laid out, it's shown with the switch in the standard AM broadcast band, and you can see that these two are tied together and they're connected to the internal AM loop. And when this goes up, it would go up a notch, and this one here would connect these two together, and then this one here, these two right here would be connected together because it would go like this. It would be like an L, which basically connects it to these, which are all the different band switches, which then connect it down to here, these three leads here, which are the external loop. So I don't know if maybe you could just hook a long wire on here or what, but it seems like with all these tuning caps, I wonder where those even are in the thing. Let me see if I can find those. But it looks like those, dial it in going into the RF amp. And one difference between this radio and the 250 is this has two IF amps. This is a two-stage IF amp. And right there under the band selector switch are the antenna trimmer capacitors, and probably those are the slugs there, the antenna trimmer slugs, and then down at the bottom are the oscillator slugs. So I need to figure out how to get a loop antenna that'll work with this. If anyone's got any ideas, if anyone has one of these radios and can count the turns and the size, let me know.